Okay.
Okay. Sorry. Either way is fine. Yeah, I took quite a few notes myself on all these options for, using technology for obviously more than just Holocaust education, for just education in general. But I do think that, it's kind of trickier, or it can be trickier when it comes to what I call the ugly parts of history, whether it's the Holocaust or slavery or the Armenian genocide, or, when we're talking about moments in time when our shared humanity has been less than obviously respected. It can get tricky using technology. It can be impersonal. And so, finding ways to make it personal, I think is really good and really important. And I think that's true of Holocaust education in general. What you were saying about making sure that, your program is sensitive to the demographics you have in front of you is important. I have a question regarding that. In the United States, in recent years, and by recent years, I mean 5 to 10, have had a tendency to, in an effort to be sensitive to the audience that the teacher has in front of her, and to make the Holocaust, quote unquote, relevant to that demographic, there's been a desire to find survivors or Holocaust stories that mirror the demographic of the school. And that can often be challenging when you have, for example, a predominantly African-American school, and you're talking about a history that takes place mostly in Eastern Europe. The same is true of Latin American students or African students or even Asian students, right? So I've always felt that the way to make it relevant is to focus on the shared humanity of people, our emotions, our needs and wants as people. But, so I'm curious your take on this, particularly because Israel does have, as you said, a very strict curriculum, but it also has a very diverse population. And so I'm curious about your take on that.
So I agree with you on the finding, the shared experiences, I recently saw an interesting initiative here that they teamed up a Holocaust survivor and let's say who's good in sports, and with a child or a student that's good in sports, and they teamed them up and they talked about, basically, we don't want to burden them with the horror stories of gas chambers and whatever, but you really want for the students to learn that this is a human being. He had a life before the Holocaust, and he's still a human being. And really, I think it's much more impactful that they create some kind of connection through that. And teaming, it's difficult to find, especially today, Holocaust survivors to that match your, you don't come with a piece of paper. I say, I need a Holocaust survivor that's 1, 2, 3, 4. It's these are human beings. But if you really, I think what I said, basically finding one, or the Holocaust survivor that's really has an impactful story, or this initiative was unbelievable. Also, like around, it wasn't just sports, music. So they teamed up a school with different Holocaust survivors that have different, with art and sport and music, and was unbelievable. And then they really remember, so slowly, the Holocaust survivor tells, sometimes they're not very open to tell their stories, but once they're doing art, they can talk about the art, and they can talk about the feeling and what they went through. And so I think that's much more impactful like that.
Yes, I agree. Jacqueline, do you have any questions?
I don't have a question, but I have a comment. I was once teaching about Holocaust in a public school where it became clear almost immediately that the students had no idea. And I was swiftly on my feet trying to think of how to make it matter. So I told them about my mother-in-law, who was 16 at the time of the Holocaust. And I told them about basically the last day of her normal life, in which she was 16. She was them. She had a fight with her sister who had borrowed her sweater. You know, she left the house and, you know, and didn't say goodbye to her mother. And she was, I mean, she was exact, as I said, she was them. And the next day they were all dead except her. And I felt that the kids got from the first part of it, you know, at the beginning when I was saying, my mother-in-law got up and she had a fight with her sister because her sister borrowed her sweater. You could see them thinking, and why are you telling us this? But every girl who has a sister and a sweater has experienced this. And I felt it really grounded the story in their reality and in their experience. And I think that, you know, it's wonderful. If my mother-in-law had been a soccer player and there had been a soccer player in the room, that would have added another dimension. But the humanity and the ways in which everyone is the same, and the ways in which every teenager has been the same for probably a millennia, you know, can be utilized also.
Yes, thank you so much for that. That's so true. I think sometimes we, as educators, overthink how to make it matter. And it really is that simple. It really is that simple. It is about the shared human experiences of being human that make it matter and make it relevant. Thank you so much for that. Rivka, I know that it's now midnight in Israel.
I turned into a pumpkin.
So I won't keep you, but I am very thankful for your time today, and I know that the rest of our participants will watch as soon as they get out of their classrooms, and they're going to have so much information at their fingertips now to be able to enhance their classrooms with this information. Thank you so very, very much.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. It was a pleasure meeting you.
Thank you. I hope you'll join us for our next webinar. We have a webinar every month. And so our next one is at the end of October. It is how pseudoscience turned men into monsters. It's focused on eugenics.
How fascinating. Yeah,
Oh,
I would love to.
Very
I would love
apropos
to
the day before Halloween. So
thank you very much. If at all possible, I will be there.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
so
that's
our next one. Hope everyone can join us.
Thank you.
Bye, Rivka.
Bye. Thank you. Bye-bye. Good night. I mean,
Bye,
to
good
me.
night.